we ought to have you here with us at the Loop. Well, for the last few weeks, we've been dealing with a real important topic, and that is mental health. We've been talking about what it means to discover mental wellness. And our hope has been that over these conversations, we have helped to pull back the covers on the stigmatization of mental health challenges. And I think we've done a pretty good job. Today's the final conversation, and it's also an opportunity we get to hear from somebody I've been looking forward to hearing from for a number of weeks. Do me a favor and welcome to the stage Miss Lora Rosemon. Lora and her family have been to church for well over a decade, and we're so grateful for them and everything they mean to us. But over a decade ago, they went through a traumatic experience. It's one of those moments no one wants to deal with, but they've dealt with it, they've gone through it, and Lora has an incredible story, and I want to ask if you'll just share a little bit of that with us on today.
Okay. Good morning. First off, thank you, Pastor Sloan, Luke family. The Luke, Pastor Sloan, Dr. Sloan has been a part of my life. They were there during this challenging time, and I have to say that they are the reason that I'm able to be up here and even speak and share the story with power behind it and confidence and heart. So I just want to say thank you for even, giving me a chance to come up here and speak and share my story. April 20th, 2011, I'll never forget this day. I was at work. I was a hairstylist at that moment. I got the phone call that changed my entire life, that my sister had taken her own life. Hours earlier that day, I had heard from her. She sounded amazing. She was excited, and she said, I'm going to come and get my hair done. I'm going to see you later. And we never heard from her again. That call came in, and that was it. And the first thing that came to mind was, I can get there and save her. I know I can get there and save her. It's not too late, but it was too late. 10 years prior to this, to take you guys back, she was diagnosed bipolar disorder. And during that time, we had no idea what that meant. We had no idea the symptoms, and we had no idea that suicide was even a factor with medication or with the symptoms of being diagnosed, clinically diagnosed bipolar disorder. And so we didn't talk about it prior, and during the time being thrown into trying to understand all of this, as a thing I think I read up here earlier, it said overwhelmed. We became overwhelmed with trying to cram all this information in and figure out, where do we go from here? What do we do? And I believe we did the best that we could do during that time, but that's just a little bit of the backstory, because we had never had the conversation before, and we had no idea what it meant to even talk about mental health, mental illness, mental wellness.
I also remember, I guess it was, again, days or maybe a week or so before that fateful day, when you and Mom came to church, and I'll never forget the look on your mom's face when you all brought Latrice up and said, let's pray. And I didn't have, an idea of what was going on. You just said, let's pray for her, and we did. But I know that there are sometimes signs that we catch or we don't catch. And so now, as you kind of look back at it and you see, some of the things you saw, what are the signs we should look for if a friend or family member is dealing with a mental health issue?
Sure. Some of the signs, now that I'm thinking back, even before I shared about, we went to Miami, and it was one of our girls' trips, and towards the end of the trip, she began having racing thoughts, and we had no idea what this was all about, just thinking, girl, you just acting crazy, and we're just tired, and we just need to get home. We didn't think anything of it. Prior to this, I'd have to say, looking back, Latrice dealt with relationships differently. She dealt with stresses differently. Now that I can truly sit back and say, you know, this is not the type that, okay, I got over this, moving on to the next. No, it's things that actually, like the depression, that we had no idea to say this is a depression that you're dealing with versus you're just dealing with a tough time and you'll get over it. And so I think we went through years of that, not really realizing that that was an issue until something truly triggered. I don't know what triggered it, but something truly triggered her to just hit the next level of these racing thoughts and writing down these racing thoughts and not making complete sentences and complete sense of some of the things that she was saying. And so those symptoms were obviously pretty obvious when we saw, but I think we were in a state of denial to say that they were even obvious, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. You said something earlier, I think in the first service, you mentioned a word, guilt. And, you know, if you've ever had a friend or family member go through this experience, maybe there's some guilt. And if there is, how do you deal with it? Feeling like I should have seen it, I should have been there more.
Oh, I should have. I feel like shoulda, coulda, woulda. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? You know, I even took her to the doctor the day before. So I feel like in that moment, I'm like, I did everything. What did I miss? And in dealing with guilt, like I said, looking back now, so if you're out there and you're dealing with guilt, this may or may not make sense to you, but it'll sink in at a later time, okay? The best thing that I could share about dealing with guilt is when I think of Latrice and I think about me being here right now, oh, she's applauding me, baby. She is like, girl, I have been waiting on this moment for you to evolve and come up out of my story and live your story. So if I had to share something about guilt, you have to realize that nobody wants you to suffer. We're not here to suffer. So if you're left here and we lose the loved ones, you're not here to suffer. And they wouldn't want to see you cry. So dealing with guilt, looking back, the story I was telling myself about what did I do wrong and blaming myself, I had to shift my language to say, she would not want me to suffer. What will Latrice think of me right now? And that's when I started feeling her spirit bring more joy into my life about the journey that it led me on in being here today.
And that's where I want to shift, because you start going from not allowing that to consume you to now your process of healing, because you've got to go through that. What has that process been like for you, healing from this tragic loss of someone so close to you? I know y'all were tight, so what has that been like?
It was a day-by-day, moment-by-moment process. I shared earlier at 8 a.m. about the gym was our thing. And it was this nice, expensive, I know y'all heard of Lifetime Fitness. I still love it. But she was the one that got me to sign up to go there. And we used to get on this same machine together. And it was a day-by-day process after losing her to show up at that gym. Did I realize I was pushing myself forward at that time? No. Looking back now, I'm like, that was my healing process. Showing up where I knew she used to be with me and facing that every single day. And so it's honestly just being okay with facing it. I'd show up at friend's house afterwards and I would just dart to the bathroom, have me a moment, come back out, and I'm like, okay, releasing that felt good. You know, so dealing with the healing process, you are going to cry. You are going to feel the pain. You are going to feel the hurt. You are going to go through that first year of feeling like Christmas and New Year's and birthdays, and I got to deal with all of this in this year without my loved one. How am I going to get through it? What am I going to say? You got to be present with this day. Don't think about that Christmas. When Christmas gets here, you'll handle it differently. I promise you. It was like moments that I was trying to think about, how am I going to deal with Christmas, right? And me thinking about how I'm going to deal with Christmas led me to many tears. And when Christmas came, I was happy. I was feeling good. I was in a different space. So it's about being present in how you're dealing with it in this moment. Don't worry about the next day. You just get past this moment in your healing process, whatever that looks like for you, and be okay with it. And if somebody doesn't understand it, that's okay too. You be in your space.
Well, this is so rich, this conversation. I want to ask this as we kind of turn back in that support. We're trying to figure out how to support someone who's dealing with a mental health challenge. And one of the things we know is it's important to give them a space where they can talk. What would you suggest that we do to help make them comfortable, or for us being present? Yeah.
Being present. That's number one. And first, with even saying being present with them means you're being present with yourself, meaning you've gut checked yourself to enter the space with them, knowing that you are not judging, you're not criticizing, you're not looking at them like saying, oh, you'll get over it. You're not coming into already with these thoughts of how you're going to handle it. You come in present and then allow that situation to manifest whatever happens for you to handle it. Because we are often walking around with so many distractions in our head, thinking that we can help the next person when we need to help ourselves first. So you help yourself first, you be present first, then you enter that space, and I promise you, with a clear head, God will tell you exactly what to say, and God will give you exactly what you're meant to do in that space. So you've got to start with you first, being present, to even enter into a space of trying to help the next person. The other thing that I would share, thank you. The other thing that I would share is there were moments where I would say, how do you feel? How does that medication making you feel? How is today? And then there were moments where I would just be in the space and allow her to be, and I'm there present with you. I'm just in this space. I'm going to make my coffee. I'm in this space. I'm laying on the bed. I'm in this space, right? So it wasn't like, I need you. It's like, but you're here if I do. Because some people are so independent, and with Latrice, she was diagnosed at a later age. She was diagnosed being an AKA, being a broker, being well-traveled, being somebody that people knew in the Houston area. So it's like, I don't need anybody. I'm independent. So you're going to tell me that you need to come in my house and now help me deal with me? So sometimes you just got to be there and show up for them in just being there. Present. Because sometimes some people, and we dealt with this, Latrice dealt with shame. She dealt with shame. And she had one event before her passing, which was at Lucky Strikes, and it was about opening doors to living beautifully, because that was her motto in the real estate world, opening doors to living beautifully, living beautifully. I actually took that and moving on with that now, living beautifully. And during that time, she was on it. There's a space where you can be a bit manipulative that we dealt with for her with bipolar. And we asked her, if you just take this medication to get through your event, this is your event, just take this medication to get through this event, then we'll celebrate afterwards and we'll take it the next step, whatever that looks like. And so she got through this event. Nobody had a clue. And we're sitting back looking like, oh my God, can anyone tell? You know, we were not shame, but we felt how she felt. She didn't want no one to know, so we're not going to speak about it. And so that's how we looked at it. Do I wish we would have shifted that? Absolutely. Because whenever Latrice passed and I began sharing the story, crying every time, so many people came out and said, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So had we had the conversation prior, maybe it would have lightened the load. But that's not here nor there. But that's to just share with you that even if they're in denial, even if they are ashamed, don't walk around with that shame for them. You open your mouth and speak about it, okay? Because you could be saving someone's life.
Yeah. So much. I want to ask one last question. Somebody today is here watching online, sitting in the audience, and they've got someone close to them that's struggling, and maybe they don't feel equipped to help them, or they're kind of wrestling. What do I do? You know, do I say anything? And you got these commercials on TV all the time. I see them all the time about being present, about helping others, and just kind of opening the door for the conversation. So if somebody's here, one last thing, what would you say to them in a face-to-face conversation to encourage them?
And first and foremost, I would breathe to enter my present space, because you can feel people's energy, right? And then I would hug, even though COVID's happening, we gotta have our mask on, because I still believe that that's power and there's energy there, and that's healing. Sometimes we just need a hug. Sometimes the words don't mean anything in that moment, but you can feel that spirit, right? And then to move from there, a simple, how are you doing today? You look beautiful today. Oh my gosh, you showed up today. You know, sometimes you don't even have to ask the question, you just give a compliment. You have no idea how that changes someone's mood, shifts their attitude, and they walk away, and that's what's playing in their mind the rest of the day. Somebody acknowledged me. Somebody showed me love. Somebody that I don't even know made me feel special, you know? So sometimes it's not the question. Sometimes it's your energy. Once again, your presence. Sometimes it's that hug, that feeling, that genuine, authentic feeling. Not no fake stuff. Okay, how you doing today? None of that. Genuinely. You know? I want to know how you're doing. And if they don't have the words to say, girl, that's okay, but you're looking good, right? Just show your love.
Yeah. Lord, I can't thank you enough, today for being so vulnerable and sharing this. I see your mom, she's here, and I'm so grateful to have her today. Your husband is here, the kids are here, and just thank you from all of us for today, being in this space, being present, and sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more time, let's give it up, please. And in the memory of Latrice, come on, let's honor her